Ha! Look at that. He's got the bass out. Come on, bienvenue. Welcome, one and all, to another modern sales meltdown. Yes.
Baby.
Yo, baby. And today we are screaming from the hilltops. Qualify, damn it.
Oh my days, mate. Just do it. I mean, at every stage during the sales process where something's going wrong, you can pretty much go back to you didn't qualify it properly.
Yeah.
Oh my days. It's 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 kind of like the boring part of the sales process. Yeah, we want to crack on and have a nice conversation about problems and what's keeping them up at night and how our solutions might be able to help them overcome those problems. And come on in, how much is this going to be? Right? You want a quote? Cool, right? I mean, people, if you get inquiries, if you're lucky enough to be in a business that's on the receiving end of sales inquiries, and then, they want to get a price, they want some information about your services. We're so excited to be able to give them all of that kind of stuff that there's very little motivation to qualify them in that moment. Likewise, if you are having to drag business in and do all of that outbound stuff and interruption marketing, you as soon as somebody bites, they go on then, give us a quote. We're not qualifying then either, because we're just so relieved that they said yes and get them into that funnel that we're not doing it.
I have to say, what often irritates me most of all is people rush. As soon as somebody asks for a quote, they don't then stop and say, let's ask some questions first. They say, sure. Let's get the quote out, because then once I've got a quote, then I'm 80% of the way there without realizing that becomes a tire kicking exercise, or at least an invitation to a tire kicking exercise. Yeah, I asked the same quote from the guy down the road, and he was like, "Tuppeny halfpenny cheap than you. Why would I go with you?" And it's like, well, of course, you never asked the questions in the first place, and you never bought in his belief in you, because you never asked the questions to demonstrate you actually were interested in his business or his product or service.
Yeah. So what not qualifying does, it does a couple of really bad things to you. It extends your sales cycle, so it drags out sales cycles. It makes closing deals longer, right? And it wastes more of your time, because you will do that on more people than actually will ever become clients.
I also think it encourages a certain kind of behavior on the client side. I think if the first interaction between yourself and a potential client is where they're saying, "Oh, go and give us a quote," what that's done is it eliminate any kind of intelligent conversation, any discussion, because it may be that what they're asking for isn't actually what they want or what they need. Sure. It might be because what they think they need. I mean, when I used to run a telemarketing agency, people would come to me and say, "I need 3 weeks or 6 weeks of telemarketing to do this." And I remember in the early days, I go, sure, I'll get your quote out. It's X thousand per month, and you start there, and you must buy that. And without realizing that what I should be saying is, whoa, let's pull it back for a second. What is it you're trying to achieve? Do you know you shouldn't be doing telemarketing right now? What you need to do is a bit of research. You need to find out what your competitors are doing, etc., etc. And by doing that, you're actually demonstrating an aptitude. And you're demonstrating an attitude. Those two things go a long way in differentiating your offering from any others.
Yes, that's absolutely the case. The reason why I sort of hesitated there slightly is because I'm putting myself into the shoes of the person who hasn't qualified. And really what that means for them in allowing yourself basically to be wasting your time and investing your time in stuff that will not give you an outcome, right?
But you're encouraging it. But you're encouraging the whole thing, aren't you?
You're encouraging bad behavior. You're encouraging people to use you.
Yes. You're encouraging it to be transactional, and what we're saying is it shouldn't be transactional. It should be qualitative at the beginning.
And this is the stance, I think, or the posture that we want to be going into. Certainly, when it's any kind of consultative sales, if you're selling anything that is not commoditized, our initial posture needs to be: let's see if you qualify to take up some of my valuable time.
Right. Yeah, but also let's see if you qualify so I can take up some of your valuable time talking to the client as well.
Absolutely. Let's just qualify each other to see whether it's going to be worth us investing in each other. And that investment is likely and often quite a large investment. And I'll put it to you like this. You've done your marketing, yeah? So you might have spent money on developing your LinkedIn. You might have spent money on somebody doing some telemarketing for you.
Right.
You probably have spent some money on, cultivating conversations with people on social media. You might have been doing some outbound mailing campaigns and SEO and all of this stuff. And eventually you get somebody who bites and they're interested. Once you then start having conversations with them, you're investing all of that time and effort and money in nurturing the conversation, in finding out what's important to them, finding out, to say, what's keeping them up at night, having those discussions there. And then, you might be having to write a proposal. A proposal could take you like a couple of hours to write. Some people spend weeks writing proposals.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it might take a few minutes, but it's still time. And then you're sending it out to them, and then we know we've got to follow up. And so we end up chasing them. Well, no, what? Are you doing it yet? You're doing it. Nobody likes chasing. And people certainly don't like being chased.
Right.
But if that is your life, and then some of them just don't go through, oh, yeah, it's too much, or it's not exactly what I'm looking for, or, I'm not quite ready for it yet. It's not something that we need quite yet. Whatever it is, I've invested time, effort, money, energy, and you become probably quite emotionally committed to it as well. It's gutting when they then turn around and say no for something that you could have found out right at the beginning. And so what we have to do, as you put it, is we have to qualify each other, right? Well, what we're qualifying is the opportunity rather than a person. And generally, we've talked about this, but okay.
I was going to give you an example of something that happened only a day or two ago, which was I was approached by a really old client from 10 years ago, in fact, and he said, I've got it's in the private airline business. I want you to call out like you used to when you did telemarketing. I want your team to call out and get me some business in over the next 2-3 weeks. And I said, great, you got qualified data? And he went, no. And I said, so have you identified a hole in the market that can be filled immediately by what you're doing? Well, not really. And I said, whoa, we need to stop right now and say, we need to do some research. We need to find out the right sort of data. We need to get that qualified data before we can do it. And even then, I'd recommend not doing telemarketing up front. I'd recommend doing some LinkedIn stuff to magnify your position in the world, and then do it, because we live in a much more cynical world now. And it's that sort of thing that will differentiate you from your competition.
Well, look, this is a very, very good point. People are afraid of qualifying because A, it's boring, and B, it delays, it puts off having the sales conversation.
Right.
And C, we're sort of worried that it's going to put them off, because it's a little bit like, it can feel very much like to the seller, as if you are that person in a shop who comes up to you and says, can I help? And you just want to go, I'm just looking, right? And if we ask the wrong questions at the beginning, you're going to get that kind of response. People don't, it's an annoying question for the buyer. We need to be, it's really annoying. I just want to talk about the stuff I want to buy. Please stop asking me all of this horrible questions, but they're worth doing. And I'm going to get in a moment, tell our viewers, our listeners, the 3 main qualification criteria. And there can be others, but 3, I'd like to have as few as possible. So I like these particular 3. But just to reassure people who don't do it, I don't do it all the time. I am pretty sure that Gareth doesn't do it all the time. Why?
No.
Because we're humans and we fall into bad habits.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are times when my excitement gets the better of me. Yeah. So, and I mean, I had it the other day, an accountancy firm. They were a client of mine probably about 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
Did great stuff for them. Their managing partner did so well out of it, grew his firm, and then decided to sell his share in the firm.
Wow.
So there's, you know, the other partners in the firm then bought him out, and now they want me to come back in. Of course, I'm all excited. Yeah, I know this business really, really well. It's a wonderful accountancy firm, beautiful branding, amazing offices, not too far away from me. So I'll be going down there. I know these guys. They're lovely, lovely people. I'm straight in there, man. This was in December. Right? What month are we in now? April. They're literally only just booking it in to start in July. Okay. Now, I was so excited back in December to hear from them again that I just like, funny enough, they did pay back then, but then now I've been waiting to book in their sessions. Yeah. So it's been quite a frustrating thing, but you know, luckily I have more than one client. So, so I hadn't qualified them. And the qualification I had not done specifically was, if you were to become a client again, when would you like us to start? Simple.
Yes, the all-important question.
Now, I say that with emphasis, and I'm going to repeat it, and I had a pause in there so that people who are watching this can write down this question. All right, folks, write this down. If you were to go ahead, if you were to buy my services, if you were to buy sales coaching, yeah, that type of service, whether it's from me or anybody else, when would you want it to start? Okay. And I have a slot in my CRM. And if you use CRM system, you will have an empty box with the piece asking for this piece of data. It's a crucial piece of data buried in amongst all of the other nonsense that you have on CRM. This is a crucial piece of information. If you don't use CRM, this should be a column on your spreadsheet, yeah, with lots of empty boxes until you find out the right answer. And it's one of those, do not pass this point until you've got the answer to this question. The estimated order date. Yeah, you will find that in your CRM. You should put that as a column on your spreadsheet or in your notebook, or however you record your list of sales opportunities. If you were to become a client, when would you want that to be? Or when would you be buying it? Yeah, when are you going to order it? And you'll find that, you know, people give very telling answers. Some of them go, well, I don't know. I mean, I've just started looking. I'm so pleased I asked you that question. Yeah, because that tells me a lot. You don't qualify to start taking tons and tons of my time at this point.
Yeah, or the other one is where they, as there was the what do you call it, mindset coach the other day that I was talking to, who's very keen to use our services to help promote on LinkedIn, and I said, so when are you looking to start this service so that we can get your name out there? And well, I don't really have any money at the moment. I said, oh. I said, yeah, because I've only got one client and I really go. So can you put a date on it, or a time, or better still, even a month on when you would like to go ahead? Well, it wouldn't be for at least 6 months. And that told me everything I need to know. I said, great. Well, look, that's great. Let me give you the little free resources I have now. And then perhaps we can put a date in time that we can. You see, the thing is, that stops me, as David just said, going headlong and doing preparations and quotes and all the rest of it, and which could take up a lot of effort and time. Also, the other thing is, from the mental and emotional standpoint, it stops me getting tied into the whole process of, right, I've got a brand new client, I'm excited, and all the rest of it. And it stops me losing that tiny bit of belief in my own abilities purely because
there you go. It's a self-care thing as much as anything else. And we don't care whether they want to start tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, next decade. It doesn't matter. I just want an answer in that box, estimated close date. Yeah. This piece of data will come in very, very handy if you ever want to start forecasting in your business, ever want to start thinking how much business are we going to be bringing in next month or next quarter or next year.
prioritizing where your effort's going to go. That's the thing. If you've got 60 in your I got like 30 odd. I was counting them. They're in my sort of funnel, but at the actual, as David would call it, at the anus end, I've only got 4 right now. I've only got 4, and those are the 4 I should really be spending the bulk of my time on, not the other bunch up there who are
when
talking
you get,
about
I mean, a healthy exercise for us all to do, you know, and fairly regularly, is when we look at our funnels, our pipeline, you know, who's in there, and we see, yeah, we've got 4 deals that we're trying to close at the moment. It's worthwhile going through those 4 deals and saying, hang on a sec, did they ever tell me the date when they would want it to start if they were to go ahead? Oh, they didn't. Do you know, I didn't actually ask them. Instead of a chasing call, we're going to make a phone call that says, yo, don't worry, I'm not chasing you or anything. It's not a chase call. Nobody likes being chased. Realize I didn't ask you something. If we were to go ahead with this thing that I've just sent you quotes for, when do you think you would want it to start? Just ask them. At any point, if you've missed one of these things, ask them. I shall now give you the other 2 common qualification criteria. And by the way, that first one about the timing, if you are in any kind of agency business or a broker business, or if you are selling things that that are competing with an incumbent that has a fixed term contract, you're selling something that's you know, they already have a supplier up until a particular date. Insurance brokers, for example, it's an annual policy. Anything like that, find out when instead of asking when would you want to become a client, clearly it's the renewal date, right? When is your renewal date? That's your first qualification criteria. And but they doesn't have to be first in terms of the order, but just from the time point of view, the estimated order date, that's your renewal date. Okay, so if you did nothing but with all of your marketing collect renewal dates, you'd be onto a winner. Second qualification criteria, again, this is no order. You ask the easiest one first if you want. If you were to become a client, how much do you think you'll be spending on this stuff? What is your budget? Do you realize that this stuff costs between this amount and this amount? That gives you the answer to another empty box in your spreadsheet or on your CRM, which is, you'll find it if you search for it, estimated order value. It's there for a reason. This is part of your qualification. And the third one is, if you were to become a client, what is it that you would be looking to buy? So in my world, in sales, they there are a few different main categories of service. One might be training. I don't really provide training, although I have an answer to training, only because sales training doesn't really work. But I have like coaching and I have consultancy. So in that part for me, I'll be asking, and if you're a client of mine, look through your records, you will see that I've asked you this question. If you were to become a client, do you think you'd want more of a sort of a coaching kind of thing? A continuous personal development thing to gradually improve all of your sales? Or would you be in the market for a consultancy thing, like a one-off big hit where we turn the place upside down and set you on a new trajectory? Now, unless they can answer that, they're not really qualified for me. I'm not really going to be starting investing time throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. No. I get those 3 questions. Once I've got those 3 questions and I've sent them a quote, I'm ready to close. Everything else is just like almost like a tick box. What do you need to become a client? Well, I need a quote. I need to see some references. Whatever it is. Fine. Cool. Oh, and don't forget, you also need an invoice. Okay, cool. But I can only do that once I've qualified.
It is the secret sauce, frankly, to getting you from a potential client to a client journey that's real. And I think that it also, as we've said, helps with your mental health, because being able to look at a pipeline and say, these ones are qualified and those ones aren't, so I know where to spend my time on, that will resolve a lot of personal nightmares. I used to have nightmares about this sort of stuff.
I know. It's the thing is, you're being annoying by asking those questions, but it's tough. But most of my deal clinics, so I also run deal clinics where people put their pipelines in front of me, especially the ones they want to close that month when they're like in an emergency situation. I tear apart all of their deals and make sure they've got all of the stuff they need there in order to close. And I tell them what they're going to have to say to close it. I'm going to say half the time, but it's more than half the time. The thing that's stalling it is that they didn't do the qualification, but it's never too late. It's never too late. You can always phone them up. I just realized, I know we've been talking about this for months. And I know I'm sort of, I've sent you the quote and you're thinking about it mulling over, but just a quick question. You weren't asking more for a sort of a coaching kind of thing, wasn't it? Rather than, oh, you did want to, yes, a consultancy assignment is what you want. I got it. Okay. Oh, I'm glad I asked.
And I think they'll think more of you for the fact that you're taking an interest in the deal rather than just assuming it's transactional. I think
There's
it has
so many benefits to doing this, from a self-care point of view for you, to establishing enough rapport for you to be able to get them to be open with you, for them to hold you in enough esteem that they won't use you. Now, bear in mind this, and this is most of the time with stuff that I will be telling you. If you do what I say, you will be quite rare. Most people don't do this very well.
Which will distinguish you, and it will distinguish the firm you represent as well, because most firms don't do this.
And if you think that you do it, you probably still don't do it.
Not quite right. No. So look, I would say review this video again and try and think to yourself, be honest with yourself, look at yourself in the mirror perhaps, and think, do I really do this? Am I asking those questions? Maybe you're too scared to rock that boat. Maybe you're worried that they'll run away and hide because you ask a hard question. But by asking the hard question, you're actually making this thing real as opposed to vapor. You know, you're coalescing it. You're making it. You can imagine the more of these questions you ask, the more this deal starts becoming real, physical, actual. All right, so I'm gonna wind this up today. Thank you so much, David. Yet more pearls of wisdom, guys. I seriously, I shit you not. If you take notice of this, you will make better conversions. That your actual pipeline, you'll know what is real because you'll
make more money. You will make more money.
Well, yes, let's face it, you will make more money. So remember, keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and look after that mental health. Until next time, bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.